Once upon a time there was a famous therapist doctor who saw 3 patients. The first was a troubled man who said his wife was kidnapped and he hasn't been able to sleep since then. The doctor said, "I will put the authorities on her search and refer you to specialists who can make anyone sleep." The second was a young girl. Her parents' house burnt down and now she has no one. The doctor called housing services and gave her a teddy bear for companionship. Then the third patient came in, depressed and at a loss for what to do next. She looked at the doctor and said, "Please help me, I'm an ADC main." The doctor stayed quiet, then randomly got a big smile, and hit a single button to one-shot the patient. That's a joke I made up as an ADC main for my stand-up tour that I will be calling ADC Coke, but it's true, this role feels like flossing with barbed wire to play this season. But not anymore, baby. I found the trick to make it not just work, but very strong. For starters, you need to go mid instead of bot. The 2 best stats for ADCs are attack damage and attack speed, both things that you get from leveling up, so why would you go in a lane where you are always behind in XP? Some people may be saying so that you can have your balls cuffed with the security of having a support, but as someone who lives in the real world, I know that just means getting an auto-filled mid player who locks in Xerath builds full AP, steals your farm kills and then leaves you on the side of the road to get butt-fucked by literally anyone on the enemy team, so I'll take my chances in a solo lane. So then you may say, okay, but then someone is just going to play Zed, he'll get fed, the enemy will get ahead, your team will wish you were dead, kill yourself, your jungle said, sounding like your typical dickhead, green eggs and ham, but that's where the build comes in. These are the 3 items that you will start with every game in whichever order makes sense for the matchup, and today I will show all 3 scenarios. This just in, gamers everywhere are suffering from the consequences of unprotected sets. The CDC, Center for Defeat Control, is recommending that everyone immediately rush to their nearest browser and download Professor, the free League of Legends assistant that equips gamers with the tools to combat the unknown. In Champ Select, it gives you the best builds in the current patch for your champ, your role and your matchups, with options to import everything straight into your client. Once in game, you get full-blown scouting reports on your enemies to know who is allergic to warding and thus is a prime candidate for ganking Gary to set up camp in your lane. Post-game, you get all the details you need to have a rare moment of self-reflection for those of you that want to improve your own gameplay, and all of this is completely free, so check my link in the description and let's get back to the video. The trick early game is to try and right-click him every time he so even looks at one of your wizards, while also recognizing that you are about as fragile as a papier-mâché dildo getting shoved up a shredder's shithole, so early game you need to be careful. Here I could tell that he was planning to do dirty things to me when I realized that bulge in his tights wasn't his iPhone, so the plan was to put the chompers on his shadow shitter, but that failed, which sparked a flashing fuck fest to which we both clenched hard enough to break a carrot between our ass cheeks, and I ended up coming out on top, leaving the dank 1v1 feeling like nothing could stop me.
What the fuck is you?
Then my strategy as mid is to never fully rotate with roams. ADCs are turret takers, so while I am down to shoot a 6-ton rocket with a smiley face up there, anytime my lane roams I enjoy the peace and quiet as an opportunity to get some work done mid. This started to attract some attention as Zed was like, holy shit, if I lose to a mid jinx my mom won't let me eat spaghettios anymore, so he calls Nunu the PC from 2003 and to spawn a buff beetle. I relied on the Zound puppy to do what we in the business call a counter gank as I positioned to slurp some cocaine off dead Kesh's corpse. Zed goes full-blown faker's dad on my ult, but unfortunately he was still a dead bitch. I tapped his tower a few times to celebrate. On my way back to lane I remembered that I received an invite to the bot lane bonanza, to which I felt guilty for not attending, so I just sent a regretful RSVP in the form of that nuke bullet that blew up Piltover in Arcane. Now the observant of you in the stands will notice against Zed I go cleaver first, as the extra health will prevent him from pressing 2 keys and waving bye-bye to my health bar, but it also lets me shred armor after enough attacks to do as much as a full damage item in extended right-click offs as shown here. Then the burst of excitement from killing an assassin has me excited and looking for more. I'm now fed enough to wave my KDA in the faces of any mid-lane jinx haters out there, ignoring the fact that I played potentially 16 games before this that I deemed not worthy of showing in the video. But anyways, the fights continue and my death rockets were horny for a bit of spider tartar. Okay, Azanias like that did warrant a response out of me.
Bruh.
One that I am just oh so glad Riot is devoting resources towards fixing, because clearly what you just saw right there is the problem with this game. I'm the problem, ban me, yes, but anyways, we won that first game with ease, so let's hop into another example. This one I'm on Uber Eats Cyber playing against a windshitter. The cool thing about this pic is that when he would show off his party trick of transforming his flatulence into targeted and violent tornadoes, I could just slurp them up like I have a fetish for farts. That said, the strategy remained the same: play so safe early that the enemy mid laner gets frustrated thinking they should have free kills against you that they start roaming at dumb times. This is where you push in and tickle their tower a bit while they aren't home. Yes, he got a kill, but I got just as much gold plus over a wave's worth of level advantage. And on top of that, I teamed up with the Teemo to intercept that wind shitter like a Baker Mayfield pass when he thought he was just going to stroll back to lane, but little did he know a moaning pizza delivery girl and a small seaman demon would have other plans. In this game I rushed the Shiv that's static because I wanted more wave control than the moon itself, so I made sure to only pick fights with he who shits wind when little Lucifer was in the area, knowing damn well that he wards about as much as his mother read to him when he was a child IRL, as I threw a few miscellaneous peppy pieces at him till he died. I then stayed in lane to take his first tower with ease. At this point I just have a Kindle gem in the defensive items column, but it's enough for me to want to stick this mummy face in my muff and give him a little Domino's delivery dickin' if you're picking up on what I'm putting down. But the little crying band-aid came to play, so I ended up having to guide him like Air Bud through a bunch of poison plants just to get him to shut up about almost being prom king. I then finished African American Cleaver, sorry for being so proper, just trying to not get cancelled here, and that gave me enough beef to look at Tony the top lane bark tree and welcome a spirited conversation under the supervision of a shit ton of blue babies until he realized he wasn't going to win, so I packed him up a slice to go for the road. Turns out being a solo laner who stays in lane and doesn't give up dumb deaths will rack up quite the age gap on just about everyone else, and even though this build doesn't give you the flashy big titty burst, it does bring you slow and consistent success in your encounters with plants, trees and vegans alike. Their mid will be busy being a yasshole to anyone he can actually beat in a fight, and yes, a bit of urgency around saving my top laner would have been polite, but I signed up to deliver pizzas, not clean up embarrassing messes, you know. That said, he's still a wind shitter, so it's only a matter of time before he's more blindy overextended than Helen Keller's tits in a push-up bra, so I just waited for him to air bend in my direction, and then I declined that particular phone call. I did moan to put some pep in my teammates' steps, but it wasn't needed as Patty the plant pussy was the only one left for us to deal with. Wit's End is the third item in full build for the sake of this video, as it gave me the confidence to chase any mages into the unwarded forest and to ask them to hold my dick. Now please forgive me, in this next fight I do want to recognize that I played this safer than a seatbelt on a sofa, but I'm used to building full damage on a bot lane ADC where if you step into the same zip code as enemies in a team fight you get popped like a virgin's cherry, so I stayed way too far back, but it's worth noting we did have an equal trade at the end. And this allowed me to keep pushing like I was delivering a baby, not a pizza, until you'd think I was caught, but my handy dandy wingman named Spell Shield was at the bar with me that night, so these two shitters found themselves outplayed and back in the black and white timeout, leaving nothing else for me to do but chase a wild whining band-aid through the forest as if I don't have better things to do with my time, until I finally catch him, shove some greasy carbs down his pie hole, and then wait for the enemy to lose all will to live in game 2. The third and final example, I figured I would show how to make this work against a poke mage mid. I was playing Project Legolas's wife against the literal definition of ELO inflated via skin sales strategies at Riot, so a bit of MR early and a call to J3 asking if his son can stop over when he gets a second was all I needed early to get that blonde to fuck off just a tad. If you've watched me for long, you know I rock so little dodge you'd think I'm sponsored by Ford, but her combos weren't enough to burst me down, and unlike her, the concept of CDs is foreign to me as a right-click chick, so I extended the fight like my mom extends her personal deadline for me to find a woman, get a job and move out of her house, and eventually I copped myself the solo bolo. Then to remain consistent I stayed for a bit for little more tower tickling. My motto is to never roam before the first tower is down, but in this case it was, and the blonde was looking damn good in the river with a half-chubbed Jarvan in the backdrop, so she got the D. And then when Banana Slinger Soraka came up to see show demonstrate how dumb she could be, I lended the boys a 700-pound arrow, and they were so thankful that they waited for me to walk up and take the kill for myself on the goat. I'm now 3-0 with a Wit's End, so the most damage Lux can do to me is talk about my high school years, but thankfully she doesn't know that, so I welcome every fight I can get with her, knowing the mid diff is in full effect. I take towers extremely fast, and my jungler actually wants to be around me as he knows I will bring results to whoever he puts in his little purple Mount Vesuvius. Any Healy whore dildocorn who makes the mistake of spoiling a game of peekaboo is gonna be force-fed a museum display-sized icy arrow and asked to deep-throat a few dozen tic-tacs right after. I was so ahead I could side lane and not worry about losing 1v1, so towers were just donated to me at this point, and so 3 for 3 enemies gave up, 1 assassin, 1 windshitter, 1 poke mage, all fall into the new wave of ADC strategies. Try it out, let me know how it goes for you. Subscribe to my channel, brush your teeth tonight, and I'll see you in the next one. Rav out.